Welcome to another episode of Auto Mundial, where this week we have the Volkswagen Golf GTI's smaller sibling, the Sporty Polo GTI.
We also have an all-new saloon car from Kia, the K5, as well as a limo from Audi and a crossover from Mazda.
That's all coming up first though.
The North American Car, Truck and Utility Awards judging panel has published its list of winners for 2021, with strong showings for American and Asian brands and a podium position for one British manufacturer. The car of the year is the latest Hyundai Elantra, beating the new Nissan Sentra to the top spot. Hyundai's third time in the top spot, the Elantra impressed judges with its numerous trim levels, despite the dwindling popularity of saloon cars in America and Canada. The jury, comprising of various North American journalists, evaluate everything from handling and performance to safety and value. The Ford F-150 won the award for the best pickup truck, beating new models from Jeep and Ram, while the new Ford Mustang Mach-E won the SUV category. Second place went to the Genesis GV80, with third place being awarded to the new, more off-road focused Land Rover Defender.
It's true, the car market may be currently heaving with an abundance of SUVs, but that doesn't mean there aren't one or two out there that are actually desirable without boasting a Mercedes or BMW badge. This is the Mazda CX-30, and it does things a little bit differently. The CX-30 sits under the bigger CX-5, replacing the old CX-3, basically a Mazda 3-inspired crossover aimed at young families, with the latest Skyactiv generation engines. It looks superb, with plenty of influence from the beautiful 3 hatchback, but it's inside the cabin where you really notice the designer's hard work. The sculpted dash adopts a minimalist approach with a sporty 3-spoke steering wheel and some fabulous front seats. High-spec cars can get two-tone leather that feels as soft as anything from BMW or Mercedes. In fact, we'd argue that the CX-30's interior is nicer than equivalent crossovers from any German manufacturer. It isn't just the design that's good, the quality is fantastic too. The infotainment works well, while there are just enough physical buttons to keep everything simple while on the move. There's plenty of space up front with loads of adjustability, but it's a bit more of a squeeze in the back. Headroom is limited, and buyers looking to transport 4 adults will be better off going for the larger CX-5. Sharing a platform with the Mazda 3 hatchback, the CX-30 shares many of the same bits both under the bonnet and in the cabin. There are 2 versions of the 2-litre petrol motor on offer, the 120 brake horsepower Skyactiv G unit and the more potent 178 brake horsepower Skyactiv X. Both have the choice of a superb 6-speed manual or smooth 6-speed automatic gearbox. Mazda is hoping to prove the internal combustion still has a future with the Skyactiv. In theory, it's engineered to combine petrol performance with diesel economy. In reality, while it's frugal, performance still seems to be somewhat lacking for now. In both the front-wheel drive and all-wheel drive versions, the CX-30 is a pleasure to drive. Of course, it doesn't feel as sharp as the 3 hatchback, but it rides very well, and the Skyactiv engines are quiet and refined, although you do need to work them quite hard to get the same performance as a more conventional petrol engine.
But how does the CX-30 match up against its nearest rivals? Well, the CX-30 isn't cheap, putting it in line with some stiff European competition. The Audi Q2 is every bit as stylish as the sculpted CX-30. It's more edgy and trendy against the Mazda's more classic lines, but they're both rare examples of head-turning crossovers. Like the Mazda, the Q2 feels like it's been built to last, with famous Audi build quality shining throughout the cabin. But while it may be built just as well, it can't compete for style. The Q2's dashboard looks fussy compared with the CX-30's, especially with the optional body colour bits. There are some cheap-feeling plastics too, which seem a little too easy to find. It is spacious though, with enough room for most adults to sit comfortably in the back. At the less premium end of the spectrum, there's the Skoda Karoq. Another VW Group product, the Skoda is predictably well built and feels solid throughout, despite its more attainable price tag. Sadly though, it misses out hugely on style, both inside and out. The interior is plain and quite dark compared with the more airy Mazda. It's well equipped though, and much more practical thanks to its higher roofline. It has a greater range of engines too, although none of them is likely to get your heart racing.
Crossovers seem to be a winning formula for any manufacturer these days, so has Mazda successfully cashed in? Definitely. It combines the three's good looks and style with the popular SUV driving position. It's not necessarily the most practical, but it's definitely the best looking and our new class favourite.
When you think of a fast hatchback, it's likely that three letters will spring to mind: GTI. They have become synonymous with budget performance, but with the new Volkswagen Golf GTI facing some incredibly stiff competition, is it the Polo that makes the most sense? Well, if you think the Golf has become too big and expensive, the latest Polo GTI could well be the pocket rocket to buy. With 197 brake horsepower from the turbocharged 2-litre borrowed from its big brother, VW's sporty Super Mini is bringing the fight to the Ford Fiesta ST and Mini Cooper S. Despite being much smaller than a current Golf, it's still bigger than the original Mark I of the 70s and 80s. As a result, there's plenty of space for 4 tall adults, although the battery has been moved to the boot to make room for the big engine, so luggage capacity is not class-leading. Elsewhere in the cabin, though, you could be forgiven for thinking you were in something higher up the food chain than a humble Polo. The tartan fabric seats are a signature GTI touch, while the colourful dashboard and chunky steering wheel remind you this is more than just a city runaround. The infotainment system is among the best you'll find in any Super Mini, with crisp, bright graphics and logical menus to navigate through. The driving position is bang on too, and although you do still sit pretty high up, it is lower than in a Fiesta. For now, the only gearbox option is a 7-speed DSG. The changes are quick, but even in manual mode, it'll shift up for you as you approach the limiter, meaning if both you and the car go to change up at the same time, you end up skipping a gear. Finding yourself going from second to fourth as you're hustling along a twisty road can become very annoying. The Polo GTI now gets the excellent Sport Select suspension as standard. This allows you to select different modes for the dampers, making this the most comfortable small hot hatchback on the market. It's a lot stiffer than a regular Polo, but it won't shake your teeth out. The steering isn't quite as responsive as a Fiesta ST, but it's well weighted with tons of grip, giving you the confidence to really push on. The Polo GTI has never been quite as playful as its rivals, but that does not mean it isn't good fun. 0 to 62 miles per hour takes 6.7 seconds, while the exhaust pumps out a satisfyingly raughty sound. But for all its sporty red trim and GTI badges, the Polo still feels like VW has held back a bit. With a detuned version of the Golf's engine, the whole car feels a little restrained, especially compared with its more lively rivals.
Let's go.
The Mini Cooper S offers all the premium feel of the Polo, but wraps it in a characterful, stylish package with retro looks and bags of charm. It's heavier than it used to be, but it remains a brilliantly exciting hot hatch. It's down on power versus the VW at 189 brake horsepower, but it matches it for acceleration. It's more involving too, especially with the 6-speed manual, but it doesn't feel quite as well engineered as the precise Polo. Then there's the current darling of the motoring media, the incredible Fiesta ST. The lively little 3-cylinder engine is a joy, while the clever differential and trick suspension make this one of the most grin-inducing cars you can buy. It offers great value too, with prices starting well below the Polo and the Mini. The interior is still some way behind the Polos, but as a driver's car, it's hard to fault.
The Polo GTI then feels a little bit too sensible. Like the Golf, it's a great all-rounder, but it feels too mature compared with its giggle-a-minute competition. We love the VW's build quality and the standard features, but in this company, it's the Fiesta that takes the crown.
After the break, the latest Audi A8 and an all-wheel drive saloon car from Kia. Still to come, Audi's S-Class rival. But first, with the Kia Optima getting rather long in the tooth, Kia has come with a new mid-size saloon for the North American market to eke out the last sales in the sector before SUVs complete their takeover. Called the K5, it's modern, filled to the brim with tech, and let's be honest here, really quite cool. In a class dominated by Toyota Camrys and Nissan Altimas, the K5 really does look a lot more appealing with its flicked daytime running lights and low menacing front end. And the good looks continue to the back too, where you'll find a full-width rear light inspired by the Stinger, but bolder and some smart chrome trim. Step inside and the smart interior more than lives up to the car's good looks. It's laid out simply, but it remains a very classy cabin with plenty of wood trim and leather options. It gets a leather-wrapped steering wheel too, and a big 12.3-inch digital instrument cluster with different themes to choose from. Other cool features include the heated front and rear seats, some ambient lighting, and a wireless phone charger. Crucially, the K5 is as practical as anything else in this class. There's plenty of luggage space, and taller adults will be perfectly comfortable travelling in the back, where you find plenty of legroom. On the infotainment front, as standard, you get an 8-inch touchscreen, with higher spec cars getting a bigger 10.25-inch unit instead. From launch, there is just one engine on offer. The entry-level motor is a 1.6-litre petrol, putting out 180 horsepower. It's hooked up to an 8-speed auto box, which sends power through the front wheels.
However, for those who want a bit more pep from their saloon, the top-spec GT model is due for release very soon, and it gets a much beefier 2.5-litre 4-cylinder, putting out a healthy 290 horsepower. Crucially, it also gets all-wheel drive, meaning it should be a match for many driver-focused rivals. Speaking of which, this is the car the K5 really needs to beat, the Toyota Camry. One one of America's best-selling cars and by the most popular in this class. The Camry is a well-established car with some very loyal buyers. It may not be the most exciting car to look at, but its blend of practicality, equipment and durability make it a tough competitor for Kia's new kid on the block. The Camry offers a more diverse range of powertrain options, available with either a frugal but gutless 4-cylinder, a much better hybrid system, or a torquey V6. It's a lot better than the last generation car, especially with the 301 horsepower V6, which offers silky smooth power delivery and decent performance too. Inside, the Toyota doesn't feel quite as upmarket as the Kia. Of course, it's well made, this is a Toyota after all, but you'll need to stump up for the higher trim levels to get the same level of luxury. Toyota's infotainment system also leaves a little to be desired. It does now come with CarPlay and Android Auto, but the system isn't quite as slick as the one in the K5. There's plenty of room throughout, and luggage space has been greatly improved over the old one thanks to the relocation of the hybrid model's batteries from the boot floor to underneath the rear seats.
As good as the Toyota is though, it's the Kia that wins this duel. It may not be as diverse with just 2 powertrain options, but it looks exciting inside and out and oozes quality and class. It's more desirable than the Camry, and we hope it'll convince buyers to stick with saloons for a little while longer.
When it comes to luxury limos, the Brits have always been tough to beat. Bentley mixes traditional craftsmanship with blistering performance, while Rolls-Royce continues to represent the pinnacle of what a car can be. They're vast land yachts full of wood and leather and represent timeless elegance and style. But what if you want something a bit more modern, a bit more techie? Well, you get something German, namely the BMW 7 Series, the Mercedes S-Class, or this, the latest Audi A8. The Ingolstadt manufacturer's flagship barge, the new A8 continues the tradition of cutting-edge gadgetry and imposing styling. And let's start with that new technology, as eventually it'll start to trickle down into more mundane models in the brand's lineup. Being a luxury car, the gizmos are designed to make travelling as comfortable as possible, whether you're driving up front or being driven in the back. It comes equipped with Level 3 autonomous capabilities, allowing it to largely drive itself. There's the usual array of safety equipment like brake assist and adaptive cruise control, but it's in the cabin where you're really spoiled. The dash features an enormous pair of touchscreens which power up as soon as the car is opened. One is used to operate the climate control gubbins, like the system in new Land Rovers, while the main screen features the infotainment. Instead of old-fashioned gauges, you also get Audi's fabulous virtual cockpit, which displays your usual speed and revs as well as your map guidance. It's all super slick, with features like Traffic Jam Pilot, which lets you relax in congestion as the car moves itself with the flow. All models come with Audi's 48-volt mild hybrid system, allowing up to 50 miles per gallon for the 50 TDI diesel model. This is lowered with the optional bigger wheels, but we'd still opt for standard small alloys for the best possible ride quality. After all, this is a car primarily designed to be comfortable. In that vein, the A8 needs to be as quiet as possible. It's therefore fitted with Audi's familiar 48-volt mild hybrid system, which enables you to effortlessly glide between traffic lights.
But what about its main rival, the BMW 7 Series? With a recent facelift, the 7 has a somewhat divisive new look. Yes, you can't talk about the new 7 Series without mentioning that grille. Designed to appeal to the Chinese market, the enormous new nostrils certainly take some getting used to. And to be honest, we're still not there yet. But a limo is all about the interior, and the 7 is better appointed than ever. While it can't compete with the Audi's cinema-sized screens, the 7's cabin is still a wondrous environment to travel in. The rear seats can recline like in a first-class airliner, and you can even spec a champagne cooler in between them. The materials are wonderful, with stunning wood trims and the softest leather you could ever wish for. Sadly, it doesn't look particularly special. The dash looks like it came from a 5 Series, and at this price point, we'd hope for something a bit more distinctive.
In conclusion then, we would go for the Audi. The array of gizmos and gadgets is a true representation of a German limo. It all feels up to date, and while the grille is massive, it looks a whole lot better than the BMW.
Join us again next week on Auto Mundial as we check out the all-new Chevy Blazer.